Okay, so then you just verify that you have everything selected that you want to back up. You click Save and run the backup, just like I showed you a second ago. Okay, so it's that simple. Okay, so to recover it, then you just open up the Backup Restore wizard again, click on Restore My Files, and then use the button, go through and drill down through the directories that you need and select the version that you want to restore. Okay, you generally only want to restore that one file or folder. Okay, and again, if you want to restore a previous version or something like that, like it mentions here, just right click on that file or folder, select Restore Previous Version, and then you're all set. Okay, so restoring is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Let's see, backing up Windows system files. This is something that can be done in a system image, but also it can be done through what's known as a restore point. Okay, so Windows does have a few different options for backups. Restore point is kind of like the third different option. Okay, we have the standard backup, the system image, and then restore points. Okay, so restore points, like it says here, is basically just taking a snapshot of your system. Okay, the difference between a system image and a restore point is that the image captures absolutely everything, whereas restore point is concentrated more on your system files. Okay, so it doesn't concentrate as much on the user data. So restore points can be taken at least every 24 hours. You can also kick these off manually if you want to. Okay, can use up to 15% of your disk space. So basically what that means, like it says here, is it continues to create those restore points until you reach that problem where you get low disk space. Then it just stops creating them. Okay, so it's a good idea to go through and clean up those restore points as needed, just like you would with previous versions and stuff like that. So here's an example here. If you go to your right-click on My Computer and go to Properties, Windows 7, you're used to opening it up under this Computer Name tab, but if you go under the Advanced Settings, excuse me, here, let me show you. So you're at your System window here. If you go under Advanced Settings, then you can click on System Protection. That's where you would find your System Restore. Okay, that window that we're looking at here. Okay, so you can see, you can turn it on. You can adjust how much space you want to allow it to use. You can also go in here and create your own manually if you need to. So you have all those different options with System Restore. Okay. To apply a restore point, you simply just go in and select the restore point you want. Now this is generally going to be done through like a pre-installation environment. So you would boot up into Windows and select restore from or restore computer or something like that. And then that would allow you to choose a restore point that you want to pull from, and then it would go through and change your settings, everything like that, back to that date. Like it says here, user data is not altered, okay, but it can go through and affect certain things within your system, software, hardware, OS configurations and stuff like that, because that's generally what's backed up in restore points. Okay, so another thing you need to be aware of is to be careful, because restore points can also be a great hiding place for viruses and malware. Okay, so that's why it's another good idea to kind of keep them cleaned out as much as possible. Okay, so sometimes restoring an older restore point can cause more issues because there's a virus built into it or something like that that's been applied. Okay, so to return the system to a previous restore point, click Start, type in rstrui.exe, and then press Enter. That's going to open up the System Restore box, and it will step you through it. Okay, and after you select the restore point, you just click Next, Next, and Finish, just like it says here. So it's a pretty straightforward process. Okay, so limitations for restore points. First, of course, your system protection has to be turned on. Okay, recovers from errors only if the registry is intact. So if your registry is messed up, then it's not really going to do you any good to do a system restore. Okay, you're going to have to do a full reinstall. Okay, process cannot remove viruses or worm infections. Okay, once those are in, you've got to actually clean those out. Sometimes it might create a new problem if, like I mentioned, if there's a virus or something like that built into the restore point. Okay, and it might make changes to the system. Obviously, you're messing with system file settings and everything like that, so that could become an issue. And it could be kept in a hidden folder on a drive, so it may not be visible all the time. Like I mentioned, the viruses can be in there, and you can do this through startup recovery tools as well. So all those are different facts or different variations of how that system restore can work. Okay, so creating an image. We've kind of talked about this when we looked at installations, but with that, you can create an image very easily by using that create system image link under the backup and recovery. Okay, so the best time to do this is going to be right after you've done your installation, you've installed all the hardware, software you need, and everything like that, created the user accounts. Basically, the same time that we talked about you doing that baseline is the same time you'd want to create an image, because that way, if something were to happen, you have a base image to come off of. Okay, then as you start to add things to your system and it's still performing optimally, you can go ahead and recreate or update that image as well. Okay, so images stored with the file name, for example, customrefresh.wim. Okay, WIM is a file extension for Windows image. Okay, and it uses that's using that Windows image format. Okay, so to create it, you open up the command prompt. Okay, that can be WinX. Click on command prompt, or under Windows 7 you can go to Start, Run, and type cmd.exe. Okay, but you're going to want to run this in the elevated command prompt. What I mean by that is the standard command prompt will open up like this: users and then the username that you're currently under. Okay, now to get an elevated window, you need to go to Start, or in Windows 8 you just go to the search and type in CMD. When you do that, the command prompt icon is going to show up. You're going to right click on it, select Run as Administrator. When you do that, the window is going to be slightly different. Notice both of them show Administrator on here at the top, but look at the difference in location that you're starting. Okay, when you start at Windows System 32, you know you're running in an elevated command prompt, so you have more leverage on the commands that are taken and stuff like that. Okay, so keep that in mind. So when you do that, enter the command receive image, or RECIMG, and then / create image, and wherever you want to store it to. Again, remember, image sizes are going to be large, so make sure you got plenty of drive space wherever you put this. Okay, then it goes through and it creates that image for you. So it pretty much does everything from that standpoint for you. Okay, so you can also do it using the GUI interface by clicking on that create system image that we looked at a few minutes ago. Okay, so some points to keep in mind: it does include the entire C drive or any other drives that are on Windows that are installed. Okay, so it has to always be created on an internal or external hard drive. Okay, it doesn't depend on just the system images, or I'm sorry, don't depend on just system image at your backup. Okay, it is a great backup, but those crucial files, you're going to want to back those up separately. Okay, kind of going back to what we talked about before, you never want to just have one copy of that backup. You really want to have more than one. Okay, and then last for this portion of Chapter 10 is looking at how, another point to keep in mind, the fact that you can create this system image anytime after Windows is installed. So like I said, after you've gone through and made a couple significant changes to your Windows, you can actually go through and update that image as well. Okay, so then you can, you have an updated one, and you're not 3 years down the road still having to recover from that original system image. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, well, the next section in Chapter 10 is going to be dealing with partitions.